It's break time. Welcome to our newest episode. It's your co-host, Rissy Ray.
Hey.
And yours truly, Kaninja. Today, Rissy and I are going to talk about the COVID regulations and the restrictions. So as of late, the CDC has said that we can lift some of the restrictions that we had to do, such as the 6 feet distance or so on and so forth, with COVID due to circumstances. I guess, Rissy, before we jump right in, anything you want to add?
Well, it goes into my conspiracy how I feel about the vaccine already. Okay, I already feel like it's population control, and we're just 20, maybe 10, 15 years from now getting a commercial that says, if you receive the COVID vaccine, and then they might specify the actual brand. Okay, just side note, who remembers the brand of vaccine they've ever gotten?
You may have a case.
You may have a case. And I feel like lifting these COVID restrictions, these COVID-related regulations, is obviously doing the reverse side to make people have the vaccine.
So basically, you think that the government is forcing people to get the vaccine, and that's why they're lifting these restrictions.
Exactly. There is no way. Because think about it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I would say that I can kind of see, if I'm really trying to look at it, I can kind of see where you're coming from, because it's just like, before everyone had to wear a mask and all this stuff, but now they're like, hey, if you have the vaccine, you can do these things. Otherwise, no. So get the vaccine.
Yeah, and so it's my version of it is they know the numbers, right? At the end of the day, we're receiving secondhand numbers, secondhand information. So just remember, everybody, that's why everyone says to check your sources, things of that nature, because majority of the information we're getting is secondhand. Okay, the government plus CDC and all that good stuff, they know the actual population. Okay, they know the actual population in the U.S. And they know the actual numbers of cases. They know the actual numbers of vaccinated people. And for them, it could be a number of reasons where they saw the numbers and was like, hey, these numbers are too low. We need to crank it up a notch. That's my theory. Or they saw the numbers and it was maybe above half or whatever their threshold was, where they're like, hey, this is a good number. Let's drop it. These regulations.
How do you see that? Because a lot of it really, to be honest with you, I'm along the same lines as you are, because the CDC lifting restrictions doesn't make any sense, at least as quickly as they did. So I can see like kind of where you're coming from is like, there's got to be some ulterior motive. Like there's got to be something else. Either because that or they.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just saying they recommend that. The CDC recommends, and some states are following the guidelines of the CDC, but there are still areas in the different industries where masks are still required, i.e. the medical field is still required. Right. I've been told, depending on where you are, in childcare, it's still required. In some part of education, let me say this. Well, I'm going to say childcare. Childcare, masks are still required. And the reason why is obviously there is no fully vaccinated child. We're talking about under 11 right now. Obviously this is going to be a little bit of a delay from when we're releasing, but right now, I know you could be 16 and be fully vaccinated at this point.
Right. It has been extended to younger people. I don't know about 11 though, but yeah, it's definitely 16.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So with it being 16, right, that's not going to work for middle school kids or elementary school children. They don't meet the threshold, or childcare again. But so that's why I find it very interesting that even though the CDC may say this, there's some industries that are like public transportation. There's still regulations where they're like mass social distancing is still required.
Right.
Explain it.
Explain it. Okay, I'm gonna explain it. Like fix it. Explain it.
Fix it.
Well, see, how I see it is we have people who are vaccinated, we have people who are not. We have a certain age group that cannot be vaccinated right now. So it does make sense that people who are working with that type of age group every day to be wearing a mask out of safety. But so Breaker and Buddies, I guess a real quick intermission here. Rissy and Kaninja, myself, are both avid dog owners. So you may be hearing some barking in the background. But you know what? That gives us a little bit more of a humane touch. Dun, you know, humane society, humane touch. You know, okay, Rissy's not laughing, but anyway.
No, because they're both being stupid at the same time. It's not just one where I can go and slide to the left. It's one bark. Ooh.
It's okay. Mine barked when yours barked. So.
Oh.
So, but yes, Breaker Buddy, if you do hear that in the background, I am not a great editor. Therefore, you would be hearing stuff in the background. But back on topic with the COVID restrictions, I can see with the children not being vaccinated, and I can see, of course, like with the medical field, they've had to wear masks even beforehand. So that makes sense that they have to wear a mask still, because they're going to deal with people who have other diseases, other viruses, and so on and so forth. They just want to stay safe. Cool. You know, on transportation, they have to wear a mask maybe because it's close, but you don't have to wear a mask when you're in a restaurant anymore, basically. Or like, I think it's, okay, let's go over what the restrictions are or what the regulations are now. So as of effective 1:30 p.m., May 14th, lifts all mandatory capacity and gathering limits. So that means that any capacity, I think a lot of times, like inside buildings, wasn't it like, it was like 20 to 60 people, depending on how big the building was, like
or a percentage. You're right.
Yep. So that has been lifted. So there's no more limit on that. Social distancing requirements have been lifted. So no more of the 6 feet. Regardless I'm still gonna do 6 feet just because I like my bubble. So.
I do like my bubble regardless. Like, yes.
Exactly. And then lifts mandatory mask requirements for most indoor and outdoor settings, excluding public transportation. Childcare, schools, prisons, and certain public health settings. This is from the CDC. So yeah, that is interesting. Like you said, it's just like excluding these areas, but everything else for most indoor and outdoor settings. But that means restaurants that you don't have to wear masks. But everyone could be just as close as they are in public transportation. And I guess that doesn't really make any sense. But definitely, it looks like in effect until at least June 1st, it allows establishments holding certain permits from the ABC Commission, including restaurants, hotels, private clubs, private bars, and some distilleries to sell mixed beverages to go or for delivery. So it's saying, okay, well, you are still allowed to sell certain alcohol to go or delivery until June 1st.
Right, which a lot of them weren't doing that. Some places, I mean, not saying some places, it would be kind of like you order that mixed drink and then you just ask for a to-go cup.
Right.
But on paper, no. A lot of them weren't selling mixed drinks because, of course, unfortunately, some people are not responsible and will drink on the way home. I'm not sure. You know what's interesting about that? I don't know how much sales, right? How much alcohol contributes to all these industry sales. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how deep did that cut into their profits? Now, the restaurants, hotels, like, I'm kind of like, they have other ways to sell to a customer.
Mm-hmm.
But for the private clubs, the private bars, yeah, I'm definitely like, hey, how did you guys make that work?
Right, exactly. Because those are usually just indoors. Like I didn't really think of anything you could actually get to go because you go to those private clubs or private bars for the ambiance. You don't go there for the food or the drink. You go there for the atmosphere.
Yes.
So that is kind of weird how that is the case. But as far as ABC stores, I know like when we first started going quarantine
Mm-hmm.
last year, I mean, there were lines outside of the ABC store. Like people were stocking up on alcohol.
Yes. Yes.
So
Very American of us.
all we needed was a McDonald's line and a Chick-fil-A line and then your ABC store line.
ABC store line, like, we were pretty much, that's how we did it.
Exactly.
I did it too. I got alcohol too. I said, hold on, I need a break from this reality.
We all needed a break.
Got me a little book. I got a bartender certificate, so I even went back to. I was like, we're gonna figure this out.
You were ready. You were ready, Rissy.
Yes, I was definitely ready to whatever. Once they said no alcohol, I was ready for prohibition. Okay, I was ready for them to say the magic word, and I'm like, we good though. I just need the juice. Okay, I just need juice and ice.
And here I was with my little mini bar that's on top of my counters. I'm like, I got you, Rissy. I got you.
He said, we got alcohol. Don't worry, we have the alcohol. But I did find out very interesting that you couldn't get like, just, it's that they couldn't get it due to go orders.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I guess it's like, my question was the response.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like other businesses. So I'm not just saying just for the self alcohol, but I'm saying in the realm of like nail salons, remember, hair salons, barbershops. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember, but those businesses where a lot of the executive orders from governors were like, hey, shut it down.
Yeah.
But you're like, but how are they going to survive?
Right. And a lot of people, I mean, I think there was some news out there that a lot of like governors or like Congress people actually still got their hair done, or their nails done or so on and so forth. And it was like a little mini huge scandal there that was just like,
yes,
oh, well, they're saying,
remember.
Yep. So they're saying we can't do this, but here they are getting their hair done. I don't know. A lot of businesses went out of business. Right. I know like even martial arts businesses, a lot of them went out of business, a lot of restaurants. I didn't know, like, it is interesting though, because I do feel like a lot of the nail salons and the barbershops and stuff like that, I feel like they didn't really I know they got hit, but I don't see many of them being out of business. So it is kind of weird. I don't know how they stayed afloat unless there's just some that I just don't know of that went out of business.
Possibly, but I guess my thing was, it was the response. It's like, okay, you guys literally said in 2 seconds, hey, it went from still maintaining stuff to, hey, we're good now. And you're like, okay, what about these businesses that you guys shut down? But what was the response? What was the community response? Like you guys flip it off like a switch, and like right now there is a current workforce issue where there's not enough restaurant workers.
Yep. Exactly. And it was the same thing. They shut it off, and now they're shutting it back on again overnight. And that's basically what's happening here. They're like, okay, well, they hit a certain threshold or something along those lines. Now on the CDC, It doesn't say why they made these changes. It's basically vaccines are out. I don't even think we hit the actual quota that they were wanting to hit. I think they wanted to have like at least 50% in each state. or something along
Oh,
those lines.
before the summer ends, or just
Right.
before
Exactly.
traveling.
Yeah. And so from what I've seen in different, medical facilities is that the people who are getting the vaccines have definitely been lessened, and then
Mm-hmm.
COVID tests, I think, have been stable. So not rising or falling, but definitely the people who are getting the vaccines have decreased. So which is interesting when you're seeing that the COVID restrictions are being lifted, but the people who are getting the vaccines are decreasing. So, and we haven't hit that
Right.
threshold yet. So why?
Mm-hmm.
So, but on the CDC, I'm going to go to this website on here, nc.org, on the measuring process. So basically, to continue lifting restrictions in our area, they look at these key metrics. They look at the sustained level or decreased trajectory in COVID-like illness surveillance over 14 days. So they look at how many people who have had the symptom-like cases. Then they look at any new cases that have happened, sustained level or decreased trajectory of lab-confirmed cases over 14 days. They also look at the positive tests as a percentage of total tests. So, of course, the amount of tests they take, how many of those were actually positive when it came to COVID, and the amount of hospitalizations that happen, either a sustained level or a decreased trajectory of hospitalizations over the next 14 days. And so basically they're saying in our area, every one of those metrics, we were level. So we didn't decrease, we just stayed the same.
Oh, we just stayed afloat.
Right. Exactly.
See.
So what leads me to ask the question, why are we lifting these restrictions? Those are the measurements. Sure, cool, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're staying the same, that means we're not getting any better.
Exactly.
So why lift it? So, anything you want to add to that, Rissy?
I'm gonna try to save it for the reviews.
Okay.
for the second half. Let me see. I'm trying to save all my personal opinions for the second half.
Okay, awesome. So we are about to go on break soon. I do want to cover the face coverings and mask restrictions that I've done there, and then we'll jump into the reviews on our second half, and Rissy will take the reins. So basically, this is from the COVID-19.ncdhhs.gov font. So I'm going to bring this over here and so that I can read it a little bit better. And so following the May 13th guidelines or guidance from the CDC that fully vaccinated individuals can safely do most activities without wearing a mask or the need to social distance from others. The state will remove its indoor mask mandate for most settings. So that's kind of what we mentioned before, is that people who are fully vaccinated can do most activities without wearing a mask or even have to do the social distancing. And Break Room Buddies, I'm just let you know, I'm still wearing a mask and I'm vaccinated. So they also say that in accordance with the new CDC guidance, there will still be certain settings that the mask and other safety measures would be required, like we mentioned before, like childcare, schools, and camps. Everyone, including people who are fully vaccinated, will still be required to wear a mask in certain settings, such as public transportation, healthcare settings like hospitals, doctors' offices, and long-term care settings like nursing homes, and certain congregate settings like correctional facilities and homeless shelters. So even if you are vaccinated, you still need to wear a mask in these areas. And then people who are not vaccinated should wear a mask and maintain distance in all indoor public settings and outdoor settings when they can't maintain a 6 feet distance. So really these regulations have been lifted for those who have been fully vaccinated and not for those that have not been vaccinated. So, which is interesting because I think a lot of people are taking these lifted restrictions for everyone across the board. Rissy's just shaking her head. She's waiting for the next part. So I'm waiting for the next part too. But with that, we are gonna go on a break, and we'll be back. And we're back. So let's talk about how we feel about these COVID restrictions. So Rissy and I are going to go through what we feel about it and what our thoughts are on the different types and how quickly it was or not quickly, as well as we're going to go through some other feedback that other people have had that I've seen on New York Times. But we'll start with Rissy. Rissy, you gave us a little bit of a spoiler before. Give it to us.
Well, I've already said my bias of how I feel about the actual vaccine. So I decided, a little bit of my college education, I decided to do an anti-argument, an opposite of my opinion, right? Because that's how you make a really good paper and get an A, right? So I'm taking my information from the actual CDC website. So I'm on, I switched gears on you, Kaninja.
Did. She always does.
You're like, she's going to go where she finds her swap people information. That's what she's going to. Nope, I'm going to cdc.gov. Okay. So cdc.gov, they said things that they need to know. And this is straight from the website. I'm just going to give you what they have on the website. It is stated on the website that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. You may have side effects after the vaccination. Okay. One bullet point that I feel that is very interesting that a lot of fully vaccinated people miss is that it states on the CDC website that it typically takes 2 weeks after the vaccination for the body to build protection, i.e. immunity, against the virus that causes COVID-19, right? You are not fully vaccinated until 2 weeks after the second dose of a 2-dose vaccine or 2 weeks after a 1-dose vaccine. Now, how many people have Breakman buddies, that have gotten their second dose and have been around people within the 2 weeks? I know people.
Mm-hmm. I did it.
So that is something that I feel with CDC is that there's not enough information for the fully vaccinated people. I feel that there's a lot of information, there's a lot of pressures for people who choose to not be vaccinated. But yet, for the fully vaccinated side, did you get this information, Kaninja, when you got you finished your dosage?
I mean, usually you get like a little sheet or whatever about the vaccine, but I didn't read it. I found out about it because I know a medical assistant, and they were the ones that told me about that. And so for me, I knew after the fact that after 2 weeks, after your second dose, you are fully vaccinated, And for me, regardless, I was going to wear a mask, even if I was fully or not.
We know. We're not talking about that. That's not the group we talking about.
We're talking about people who got the shot and said, I'm free. I'm going to go to childcare without a mask.
Right. It's you get this, so it's like you switching gears, right? Because they said that, hey, it's coming through microscopic droplets in the air, right? And so to prevent it to get to you, to me, that's what the 6 feet comes from. Mm-hmm. And the mask as well, because sometimes you might get a little bit closer because things happen. I had to get close to somebody for us to take care of what we need to take care of. Okay, well, I'm less than 6 feet, but I have my mask. Mm-hmm. That's covering both my nose and my mouth. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, all right. So that's information that that's kind of how I'm feeling, where it's like, okay, if you want to switch gears, give everyone all the information, not some of the information.
Right.
The COVID-19 vaccines, still on the CDC website, are effective at protecting you from getting sick. are effective at protecting you from getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say anything on the website that I'm seeing where it says that, hey, based on what we know about the vaccine, people who have been fully vaccinated can start doing some things that they have stopped doing because of the pandemic. Oh, listen, these recommendations can help you make decisions about daily activities after you are fully vaccinated. So still the 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
On the CDC website, it states they are not intended for healthcare settings.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, okay, why? So please visit the website and get that question answered. I'm gonna leave you guys with homework to do, but it's even on the website. Some people don't even have that information, and for me, and also it says it protects you from getting sick. It doesn't stop you from spreading it to someone else.
Right. Right. So you could be a carrier.
Yes.
So, I mean, basically, and just a little side note, I guess you can say, basically what the vaccine does, depending on the vaccine, if you get Pfizer, Moderna, that's the mRNA. And then you have the Johnson & Johnson, which is slightly different. That is like a flu shot, which is like the dead virus. So you are injecting yourself with part of the COVID virus within you, as in the Johnson & Johnson. With the Pfizer and Moderna, you're having the mRNA, which is essentially the DNA of COVID. So when you inject yourself with DNA of COVID, not the vaccine itself, your antibodies actually absorb that DNA. So they actually have that signature of the DNA of COVID to know what to recognize if COVID does enter your system. So they can fight it and we don't get sick. Yes, but you can still get it into your system as a carrier and put it towards other people. So you're absolutely right on that one. Long story short.
I mean, it's stuff that I'm just like, and then also remember, freaking buddies, when it does come with the COVID vaccine, there are people who cannot actually become fully vaccinated. Some people, unfortunately, have a condition or they take medication that actually weakens their immune system to the point that it is not even recommended for them to be vaccinated.
Those are the immunocompromised people.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So, I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that there's some people who's not refusing. They won't get vaccinated. They just cannot.
Right.
And I feel that's something that people need to know. That there's some people who cannot due to CDC guidelines.
So in other words, you don't agree with these lifting of restrictions?
Absolutely not.
I mean, I don't either. I think it's too quick for us to be lifting these restrictions. I don't think people are fully vaccinated enough. And I don't think that we're taking this still as seriously as we possibly can. I mean, we do know that we can still be a carrier. Children are, under the age of 16, I believe at this time, still cannot be vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we can still transmit it to children if we're not careful. And even if you're in these areas no one's checking your vaccine card.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are fully vaccinated and you're saying you can't get sick, no one's checking your card when you go into these areas. When you go into restaurants or you're going into, or even just outdoor activities or let's say a house party or whatever the case, no one's at the door saying, hey, let me see your vaccine card. Okay, you don't have to wear a mask. No one's doing that. They're doing the honor system. They're doing an honesty system here. And come on, guys. Even before all this, who was really wearing a mask? So of course they're going to say they're vaccinated, or no one's even going to ask,
Right.
So it's kind of defeating the purpose by lifting these restrictions. They basically, I feel like the CDC is kind of given up on people And I don't blame them after seeing people fill up bags of gasoline.
They said, I'm tired. We're tired.
Right.
We're tired.
They've given up.
They said we're tired because they're like, hey, we're trying to protect, we're trying to do the things, the stuff that we need to do so that everybody can be safe. And I'm seeing you guys putting gas in Tupperware with no lid, ma'am, and sir. Like
putting in their car.
Right, putting in their car and stuff like that's just. And I get it. It's frustrating, but a lot of people don't understand when you deal with the public, like not when you deal with the public, you deal with the spectrum of different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the CC was getting tired. They're like, we're done. Like, I'm so over it. Like, if we get one more. Like, some people wore regular costume masks, okay?
Yep.
They're like, this is a mask.
It's covering my face.
So I absolutely 112% agree with Kaninja on that. I do feel that I would feel more comfortable if it was more of, instead of being mandated, they're saying no. So for me, I'd rather it be an option, right? So it would be like or at least something where instead of 6 feet, maybe 4 feet. Mm-hmm. Mind you, they would have to change the stickers, on the floors, that some signage, but that's like a shopping mart. Like, they would say, hey, instead of 6 feet, you guys can do 4 feet with masks, mm-hmm. or 8 feet without a mask, or something where it wasn't all together just done.
Yeah, overnight.
Overnight, and it made me feel uncomfortable where I was working because I feel sometimes I live at work, but I was at work and I worked in a small area and we were all in the consensus, and some of them are vaccinated. We were all in the consensus of, hey, the vaccine's not available for anybody 16 and younger. We know there's some of you guys who have a 16 or younger child at home. We're good. There's no biggie.
Right. Exactly.
But then, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too. A lot of people just don't understand what the vaccine actually does. So Break Room Buddies, as you can see, Rissy and I are on two different sides of the spectrum when it comes to the vaccine itself. But we both agree about these restrictions, as in, like, it was overnight too quickly, all that stuff. And I guess people need to understand really what the vaccine does and what it means to be fully vaccinated, to actually take that and actually use it for their everyday life. But also for those who are not vaccinated, don't use this as a free card to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Because it only prevents you from getting sick.
Right. Just like any other vaccine. Like flu vaccine, the measles vaccine, it prevents you, which is really the point, but I don't think a lot of people understand that you also can be a carrier, and still put the people around you at risk. Now, if you were not wearing a mask before this and you were not vaccinated, you don't care to be vaccinated, what we're saying may not resonate with you, because you're still not going to wear a mask regardless, because you're even more of a carrier if you're not vaccinated, and you're going to get sick, and you may have that risk of being called a long hauler, which could impact the rest of your life, whether it's your mobility, your senses, and so on and so forth, which they are looking into, that COVID can actually change your DNA, can affect your DNA. And it's something that they are seeing just some small signs of that could be a result of long haulers, is what they call it now. So I say wear a mask. Still do your 6 foot distancing, because if you are vaccinated, you don't get sick. But if you're a carrier, you don't want your family or your friends or your children or your friends' children to be sick. You don't want that to happen. So
I agree.
I love your facial expressions, Rissy.
I know. Hey, and I even changed it up on you. I didn't even do. I got my source from the CDC today, so I changed it up on all you guys. I know you guys. That's my on that. I feel like there should be more information. Oh, this is not my wrap up. Sorry, sorry. I'll do my wrap up.
Your 30 seconds.
My 30 seconds. I'll do my 30 seconds. My bad.
She's ready, you guys. So we kind of have a good feeling of what we think about it, but let's see what other people kind of think about what these restrictions are all about. Now, this was on the New York Times, and let's see. I'm kind of scrolling down to see if there's a way to see this easily, but it doesn't look like there is. But a lot of people are saying that we have all longed for this moment, and it's like they have been tortured by wearing a mask or having the 6 foot distance. But that is one comment is saying we have all longed for this moment.
I mean, on a level, yes, everyone has, but not today. Like, not today. Like, everybody wants to hit 50, but not like now. Like,
exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I can get I do want the AARP benefits, you know what I'm talking about, where your car insurance, you can get like a new car.
Yep,
and the insurance is like $40 because of your age and experience and like your age and stuff. Yeah. I want those rates, but don't give it to me now. Like, don't bam, I'm 60. No.
I can wait on those Denny's discounts. So it looks like some have said that hundreds of epidemiologists have expected mask wearing in public to remain in place for at least a year. So a lot of those specialists were a little shocked that this has changed. And some are saying, I just got my vaccine. And that means the rollout has begun for children between ages 12 and 2 to 15. So it's 12. So also they're talking about how the teenagers are returning to malls, but not for shopping. They want the vaccine shots. So some other people are saying too early studies show Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are safe and effective during pregnancy. So these are all kind of different other links of what we need to know. But some people are just saying they've longed for this. They've always relied on the facts and the science to guide us through the worst of this pandemic. And that they were kind of shocked about that, saying as masks will still be important for schools and public, but they've always relied on the science and the facts to guide us through this. But it looks like a lot of the scientists and the CDC aren't exactly on the same page when it comes to
is that not scary?
That is scary. That is scary. They gave up on us.
So there's no it's like coffee, like right now, back when they said women couldn't have anything. Mm-hmm. You had to drink juice, water, whatever. Then, research showed that we can drink coffee. I didn't drink coffee when I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Even though it was stated it was okay.
Right.
Now they're saying, hey, you can get the COVID vaccine while you're pregnant. Like, we should not restrict pregnant. But this is the thing about the science community. Mm-hmm. Their opinion can and will be changed. Mm-hmm. Because it used to be okay to smoke. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like the science community, it's like, I respect it on the level, but at the same time, it's subject to change.
Right. As they gather more information, they learn new things. So it's going to change. They only can make the decision that they can based off of what they know today. I guess what's the scary thing is that it doesn't look like the science community is actually on the same page on this topic, given that things will change. That is the scary part. So that makes sense. One person said the message is clear. Vaccinations are the way to bring our city, our lives back. And then the county and state will review the recommendations in order to make sensible adjustments. So it looks like each county and state will just adjust. The place that we live in is doing what you said in the first part, but other states may be different.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like from on the New York Times, like this one person said, this is a heck of a benefit for people who have been annoyed by this mask. This is a really good reason to get vaccinated. That shot is a ticket to freedom from masks. So kind of what you were mentioning in the very beginning, that this is I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically this is a ploy to push people to get vaccinated. So it looks like a lot of people are, this one says these conflicting positions put retailers and their employees in incredibly difficult situations, which makes sense. So basically, when you're working in a shop or you're working in any other places and they're saying that they're vaccinated or not vaccinated and they want to be safe for their own self, and people are coming in without masks, that could create a very uncomfortable situation for people. So that definitely makes sense too, regardless if they're vaccinated or not, because like you said, Rissy, they could be carriers. So anything else you want to add to this, Rissy?
Nope, I think I said it all.
Well, this podcast has been a very short and sweet podcast. We'll put it to what you guys think, but hopefully, Break Room Buddies, you've learned something. But it does look like we are out of time. So before we finish out, let's do our final thoughts. Rissy?
Yes. Great topic, Kaninja. I love it. Love it. I think one of the things several things is more fully vaccinated information for people. I think that is a factor because a lot of people did not know about the 2-week time period, and that the COVID vaccine is to help prevent you from getting sick. Mm-hmm. The mask, the social distancing is for everyone. It's for the community. So hope we were able to go and give some information. And I'm over my 30 seconds. I'm sorry.
You're good. You didn't take your phone out this time. So but so yeah, I totally agree. And Brick and Buddies, this was actually Rissy's idea for the podcast. Don't let her tell you otherwise. But great idea for this podcast. Great episode. And I totally agree. It's something that we need to be more informed about, the vaccine, and as well as kind of what our surroundings are and what we feel more comfortable about. Just because the restrictions are lifted and more people are not wearing masks does not mean that you have to feel pressured to not wear a mask either. I know I felt that a few times this past weekend, but I am trying to be a little bit better on my resolve on wearing a mask because that's where I feel most comfortable, regardless of what the CDC says. So it doesn't hurt to wear a mask. That's it. Case in point. So I know I went over my 30 seconds as well. Again, we are on YouTube, so this will be going on YouTube as well. So please like, comment, subscribe, and share to your friends, especially if you want them to learn a little bit more about different topics for this topic, especially for the vaccine, but also the COVID restrictions overall, and especially in our area. Also, be sure to comment on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, which the information will be in the description on our areas down below. Thank you all for listening in. Bye, Break Room Buddies.
Bye.
See you next time.